So I'm going to get started with our beginning of momentum. I got this from John Maxwell. We talked a little bit of John Maxwell's Law of the Lid last week. This is the 21 most powerful minutes in a leader's day, and it's wonderful. It's the companion to the 21 irrefutable laws of leadership. And one of those laws is the law of the big momentum. So the first thing they talk about is how to move momentum. Okay, you always have momentum. We're either kind of going backwards or we're going forwards, but there's always momentum on your team. So the very first thing we have to do is we have to understand the value of momentum. It says everything naturally runs downhill. So if you're not working hard to move it forward, then you are moving backwards. And I can tell you that is such the truth here. Number two, identify motivating factors. How do you get momentum? Well, what motivates your team? And guys, you want to tap into the passion of your people, even if it's one or two people. You want to tap into their passion and figure out what motivates them. And do you know how you do that? By getting to know them, by being amongst them, whether that is in a session, Zoom meetings. My leaders and I did it. We went through this a few months ago, and it was so neat to be able to hear their feedback on things. So you want to tap into their passion, but you can't do that unless you know them. 3, this is a big one, and I think Amy does a fantastic job at this. Remove the demotivating factors from your organization. And what that means is any kind of negativity, because guys, just a little bitty spark of negativity, it breeds, and it's not because we're like these horrible negative people, but just a little bitty spark can get all of us kind of like, yeah, you know what, I'm kind of ticked off too. It just spreads just like that. Chronically negative people always lower morale, and they hurt momentum. If you are trying to build momentum, allowing yourself to be negative or allowing negative people to impact the rest of your team, you are going to hurt your momentum. So do people who continually put themselves ahead of the team. So we're not just talking about negativity. We're talking about people who are just in it for themselves too, okay? Both of those things are going to hurt momentum. And that's so true because we're a team. So we're all working together. Like last night, we had that Facebook event. We're doing that for each other. Alicia was doing that not just for her team, but for other teams. It's so much easier to do that for people who are working together and not somebody out rogue just trying to work on their own. And that's okay if they want to, but that team, that momentum, and guys, to build momentum, it is your responsibility and it is in your hands, but you need your upline and you need your downline. You're going to need that team. Next, and this is a big one, schedule times for direction and celebration. This is kind of all about celebrating people publicly too. Hey, so-and-so just signed up this person, or so-and-so has reached out to 17 people for the Facebook event. I have a hard time with that sometimes, not because I have a hard time celebrating people, but sometimes I have a hard time because I want to celebrate everybody, but then that's not really special. So I always remind myself, Ginny, if you do it often, you can do it for everybody eventually, but I want to put a spotlight. We want to do that. That builds momentum. Take time to let the people enjoy their achievements. Nothing builds morale like a celebration. And the 5th one, and this is a biggie, practice character leadership. Do what's right no matter how you feel. The most important factor in the ongoing process of building momentum is building character. Trust is the foundation of leadership. Without character, even a great leader cannot sustain momentum. So, how do we sustain momentum? Because there are plenty of you right now that do have momentum, okay? So we've talked about what are some things to do to grow momentum, but I want you to listen to this too. This grows momentum, but once you are on that momentum treadmill, this is what's going to help you keep it. Momentum, because here's the truth, momentum never sustains itself. It takes a leader to sustain it. Most leaders are happy. The first thing we need to do is accept responsibility. It says most leaders are happy to accept responsibility when an organization is succeeding. However, when the organization isn't doing so well, that may be another story. But, and this is a big one, the sooner a leader owns up to the responsibility of sustaining momentum, the sooner he will start doing something about it. Because, guys, there may be obstacles in the way that you cannot control, but you still can do something about the momentum. There are things, and we're going to talk about that you can do to start the ball rolling. It is in your hand, but until you understand that you're the one responsible for that on your team, then you're not going to get there. And I want to remind you, these meetings are called Build Your Own Business, because I am one of your uplines, but it is your business. And I want to give you every tool possible that I feel like I have or that I've come across, but ultimately it is your business. And I think that is such a freedom thing, because once you realize, oh, it is my business, and I like the way Jenny does this, but I would totally do this different. That's what's so wonderful about network marketing. I want you to have these tools, but ultimately, you're the one responsible for building your business. We're going to help you. We're going to cheerlead. We're going to encourage you. But you can take this anywhere you want, and it is your responsibility to build that momentum. The second thing to sustain, it says a willingness to direct momentum instead of letting it go. Momentum always has a direction. The momentum in an organization doesn't always go the way we want it to go. As a leader, though, you never want to stop momentum, okay? You never want to say, we're changing directions. You can change directions and you can guide that in a way, but you do not want to say, okay, we're stopping and we're going to think about this, because it is really hard to build momentum from a standstill. When you have had momentum and it has been going, and then you decide, oh, I need to stop and figure this out. We don't want to do that. You can change directions. You can steer it to a positive momentum, but you don't want to stop all the way on the course. The next thing they say to do, and this is my favorite part, because I feel like enthusiasm covers a multitude of sins. I mean, that's pretty much what we learned last week. A willingness to be enthusiastic at all times. And last week we talked about enthusiasm can overcome a lot of other areas that maybe you're not as strong in. Now, you're working on them, but if you have enthusiasm and your team believes you and they know that you're passionate, they're going to follow you, and that's what builds momentum. This is really good. And I feel this way about education. I was not a birder before this year. I've always liked birds, but this year I was teaching about birds. I cannot teach kids about something I do not love myself, okay? Insects. I was not an insect person until I taught about insects. You cannot kindle a fire in any other heart until it is burning within your own. I know, as a homeschool mom, I know what teachers are at Greenbrier because I work there. And I'm like, you know what? If I can't be Mr. Ferguson, well, by golly, I am going to be the best Jenny Wallace for history that I can be, because my kids are missing out on Mr. Ferguson. I can't kindle a flame of passion of education in them unless it's first burning in me. Same thing with your business. If you have a team that you are leading or customers that you are serving, enthusiasm will get you a very, very long way. And here's what he says. Here are some secrets to keeping my leadership positive all of the time. Number one, you have to solely believe, wholly believe that what you are doing is the most important. It's easy to stay excited about something when what you're doing really matters, okay? How do we keep enthusiasm? You better have belief. Number two, the people I'm sharing it with are the best. And I believe that hands down. My team, everybody on my team, they are the best. They show up. They bring the best. Guys, it's that whole self-fulfilling prophecy. I would tell this about myself over and over again in the classroom. If I thought little Ricky was going to be a little turd that day, he was always a turd that day. But when I felt like, you know what, I think there's something in him, and I think he's gonna be good. It always lived up to that. What do you think about your team? What do you expect of your team? That's what they're going to bring. Your team, you need your upline, you need your downline to help you with momentum. Your thoughts about them need to bring out the best in them. You need to speak life into them. And then he says, you need to believe and have a strong belief that the results are going to be positive. Sure, there are going to be bumps along the road, but those bumps are going to help you make better decisions later on. All of the 21 irrefutable laws of leadership, it's not like you can read the book and like, okay, I got those. I mean, I can't even tell you how many of those laws that I'm like lacking in, really a lot. But all the little bumps along the way are sanding off little parts of me. And I always tell my team this, that when my leaders, when we met, I feel like what the Lord is doing for me in Plexus and my team being a leader in Plexus, it is just something that he's building for me in life. He is making me a better person in life by the little bumps and little sanding he's doing right now. And my ultimate is that I hope that he is sanding me away for to be a wonderful mother-in-law. That is my ultimate on earth. That's one of my ultimate goals. I want my in-laws to enjoy being around me. And guys, they probably won't unless I continue to work on things that the Lord wants me to work on. And he does that by bringing little bumps along the way, or allowing those things and sanding away parts of us and making us more like him. The results will be positive, but there will be bumps. He says, I have yet to meet a leader with a chronically negative attitude who is able to continually sustain positive momentum. If you have leadership responsibility for an entire organization or a very, very small team, you cannot ignore the impact of momentum. And Annie talked about in her video about tomorrow night's thing in Little Rock. I don't know how many of you are in this area, but I would love for you to go to that. I can't. Cameron has worship practice, and I have to take the boys to Taekwondo. But that one of the ladies that spoke at one of her trainings, her Jewel trainings, talked on a book, Switch on Your Brain, and that's exactly what it made me think of. I brought that up last night and screen shared it, and Zoom went crazy, so I wouldn't dare screen share anything right now for $1 million. I'm just saying. But Switch on Your Brain, when I read last night to the team that was here, parts of that, just the little, snapshot of that book, oh my goodness. It talked about the amount of diseases that we cause our bodies because of our negative thought processes. So here's what I told them last night. Anyone that came last night and anyone that comes tonight, I'm going to do a $25 giveaway. But I'm also, Amazon gift card, but I think, no, maybe it's Google. But I'm also going to give away one of those books. And I'm going to get one myself, because I always say, whatever we're learning, I feel like the Lord is teaching me for my business, but he's really teaching me for people he's going to place around me for the rest of my life. Okay, so we're going to shift gears. And so that's a little bit about the leadership part of tonight. But what I want to talk about is some practical stuff for the rest of the time. And I posted a video today. Eric Warray, it's 20 and 30. And Tina is going to do a little call with me, a little Zoom video with me on Saturday to give us her advice on when she went through the 20 and 30. She sent me that video, and I have watched almost all of it. It's about 50 minutes, but it is some really good information. And I really like his GoPro book. It's one of my favorite multi-level marketing, network marketing books I've read so far. And so he has studied network marketers, and he has charted it out and looked at the numbers and tried to figure out what has made these people, what has put them where they are. And so he says the majority of their income or the majority of their business came from just a burst of intense activity. And so what he talks about, he talks about 90 days can change your life. I mean, 90 days of intense activity, and you think, oh, that's a lot. that when you're talking about it could change your life, it could change your next 30 years or 40 years, then I think we would all say, well, it would absolutely be worth it. He said that what he has found is that 90% of income for people that have been very successful with network marketing can be pinpointed back to one instance of huge growth because of intense activity. So his what he talks about is 20 and 30. And Tina, when she went and invited people to the 30 days spring into 30 days that we just did, I don't know what the name of it was, but she pulled out a list. She made a list of like 170 something people, and she contacted every single one. And she said, and she may say this in video, but she was like, none of those were new people, and none of those were people I had met over the past several, months. Those were all people I had already either worked with that had tried the product and quit on me, or those were people who had not said yes yet. I had asked them a couple of times and they just had not jumped on board. Guys, she did some intense activity, but she got 37 people into that 30 days thing. And I talked to her, I think today, and she said 15 of those people have had amazing results. I think one of them has lost like 17 pounds. Isn't that crazy? Several of them had lost 6 to 10. Just so many other things that they have noticed that has changed their life. For 15 of them, okay? She reached out to 170, 36 joined her, and 15 have had amazing results. Now, that doesn't mean the other 15 to 20 people haven't, but those 15 are like, we're in this for the long haul, and she's still following up with the others. But it took some intense activity. He says that people that make 6 figures in network marketing, they can pinpoint back to one time when they had some intense activity. People that make 7 figures in network marketing don't just do that once. They are the ones that do that then, and then they do it again, and then they do it again. Because they know, oh, I can make 6 figures, but if I work hard for another 30 days, 60 days, that intense, then I am just setting that up even more. I'm building my business even more. So here are a couple of myths that he talked about. And this may be a little like I'm a preacher stepping on your toes. Maybe not. But I've heard these things, and so when he said them, this is what made my ears perk up like, oh my goodness, I hear this all the time. Number 1, slow and steady wins the race. Just be consistent, because slow and steady wins the race. Now, we want to be consistent, but he said, guys, in network marketing, slow and steady will starve you to death. Now, there are those rare times when you have somebody under you that's not slow and steady, okay? They are in it. And so they are moving and they have momentum. And so you may feel that, and your business may take off because of that. But slow and steady, it's going to be hard to achieve the freedom that network marketing can bring along. Now, if you are wanting to supplement your income by a couple hundred, 400, whatever a month, then I would say slow and steady, that's probably totally okay. I mean, even 500, 600 maybe. If you have a great customer base and you are taking care of those customers and you are just working the business as the Lord's going to bring me whoever they want to bring me. Probably slow and steady could probably sustain taekwondo amount, the amount we pay for taekwondo and groceries or something. But if you are talking about what's your why, what is your why, then slow and steady is not going to win the race, okay? Very rarely in network marketing. Slow and steady will not get you off the ground. And if you're talking about an airplane, and we're talking about it takes a lot of work to get that airplane in the air. But guys, once that airplane is in the air, then it's smooth sailing. They don't, the pilot's just kind of, I don't even know what he's doing. But it takes a lot of work for that plane to get in the air. It takes a lot of work for the plane. It's working, but to be able to maintain in the air and the speed it's going, that's easy. Guys, our businesses will not build momentum, and they will never take off the runway without a lot of work, okay? Second myth, and I hear this all the time, you're going to make it if you just don't quit. If you stay in it, you will make it. It may take you 5 years, it may take you 7 years, but if you stay with this, you will eventually make it. He's like, guys, it's not about just don't quit. It's about just give it 100%. If you, over a short period of time, put some intense activity in, that is how you're going to make it. Not because you just don't quit. Of course, there are those exceptions of people who have somebody that decides under them to be a rock star and to go full throttle, but that is very, very rare. We're going to hear every time that happens, you know, you just hear those stories. It's very rare for that to happen. Now, but if you are working the business, you are duplicating that. It's not rare to sign up somebody that's a rock star, but oftentimes they become a rock star because you have duplicated in a way that they know how to work the business. Okay, so what we're going to talk about, and I think Leanne and I are going to work on this some, hopefully for June, is we would love to do like a 20 and 30 group. But what that's going to look like is just intense activity, okay? So what I'm going to do is in May, at the end of May, I'm going to have my list. I'm going to have a big list. And in June with you guys, whoever wants to do it. And if June is not the month you need to be doing that, then you don't need to be doing that. Because we don't want to set you up to fail. We want to show you this is what we've done and these are our results. But we want you to do it in a time that works for your family and in a time that is going to work the best for you. But I want this opportunity for you as much as I want it for me. And I promise you that. It makes me even more excited to see freedom come for you guys. There are several of you by name. I mean, I pray for the whole team, but there are several people that the Lord has placed on my heart. And I'm like, this would be the biggest thing ever. I am telling you, that's why we're doing this right here. It's because I want it for you more than I want it for me. I want to work in a way that is duplicatable so that you can achieve, you can have your why. So the last thing I'm going to talk about, Leslie Zann talks about goals. And I'm not going to read a lot of what she says, but there's a couple of things that she mentions that I think is such a great idea. Front loading your goals. So whatever your goals are, and I know we're already almost halfway through May, but whatever your goals are for June, front load them. And those first 2 weeks, that's when we want to work the most in June. We want it, whatever our goal is, let's say if your goal in June, because some of us are going to do that 20 and 30, if your goal is to sign up 20 people or 10 or 15, I want you to have 3/4 of those people. Wouldn't it be great if we worked to have 3/4 of those people done halfway through the month? So the rest of the month, she talks about being the closing of the month. If you are thinking of ranking up, don't decide that on the 25th. Don't decide that on the 28th. Decide that this month, okay? Because we want to work in a way, my main reason, we want to work in a way that respects your family, that does not make your husband say, you need to quit. This is ridiculous, and you have not slept for 48 hours because you've been signing people up the last 2 days of the month. We don't want our families to think we're crazy. We don't want to totally neglect our families more than maybe we do at other times in life. But also the other reason I think it's so important to do this, we are talking about freedom. We are talking about having freedom. And I do feel like I have freedom from having to work a 40-hour week as a teacher. But guys, if I'm running around like a chicken with my head cut off, that's not freedom. And so I just thought Leslie Zann's point of you want to front load your goals, you want to have a mid-month goal, and you want it to be 2/3, 3/4 of what your end of the month is, okay? What PD do you want by the end of the month? You want to try really hard to tackle as much of that as you can by mid-month. Okay, this is because I'm afraid to screen share, and honestly, I tried to do this last night just with a couple of people and they said it was glitchy. So I'm going to hold my phone up and you're going to watch a video. And I'm hoping that you can hear it.
I wear a shirt today.
So I'm going to give you just a little bit of backstory on this video. We watched a little video from this last week, and it's The Pursuit of Happiness, one of my favorite movies. I want to be able to show it to my kids. There's a couple parts in it that I need to rewatch it to see. But I remember I left the movie theater, and I have never been the same from watching that movie. It had a huge impact on my life. There are a few moments in my life that have had that much of an impact, and The Pursuit of Happiness was one of them. And I think part of it boils down to, and I shared this a little bit last night, I grew up in extreme poverty. Now, I did have a roof over my head and a partial floor under my feet, but I mean, I could see the dirt underneath the floor under my feet. We grew up in extreme poverty. And so just watching this man, it's Will Smith, and it's a true story. Chris Gardner, I think is his name. He is interning at this place, like a stock market place, but he is killing it. Like, he is there working the whole time 1,000 times harder than anybody else there. And everybody else there is going to a home. They are going to eat that night. And he is living homeless most of the time, either in a homeless shelter or on the street with his little boy. And so he comes this night, he comes this day, his very last day of the internship. And he is finding out, there's only a couple spots, am I going to be hired on, or is this my last day and see you later? So I want you to watch this, and I want you to think about all the work that he put in, but think about his wife. To me, it's just the best thing ever.
You know, being the last day and all. Thank you. I really appreciate that.
Wear one tomorrow, though, okay? Because tomorrow is going to be your first day. If you'd like to work here as a broker. Would you like that, Chris?
Yes, sir.
Good. We couldn't be happier. So, welcome. Was it as easy as it looked?
No, sir. No, sir, it wasn't.
Good luck, Chris.
Oh,
I almost forgot.
this part of my life, this little part is called happiness.
It kills me every time to see what he has gone through, and it just reminds me over and over that the Lord has a plan for you. The Lord had a plan for him. True story about this man. And man, it's not going to be given to us. It was anything but given to him. He worked his tail off. But he achieved it. Millionaire, multi-millionaire probably. I'm going to leave by reading something that Sarah Robbins wrote. And I want you to think about your why, your biggest why. One of my biggest whys would be our little girl is adopted from Ethiopia, and I would love to go back to Ethiopia with our family, but I would love to be able to build a well there so they would have water, so many things like that. And so Sarah Robbins says, when our feet were planted in that first orphanage in India, Phil and I looked at each other with tears in our eyes and said, it was all worth it. All the hard work, all the tears, rejection, all the no's over the past 5 years were worth it. We know our visit to India wasn't the end for us, but rather the beginning. This one experience transformed our lives. Our purpose and plan for our life unfolded right before our eyes. It was beautiful to see our reason why in action. I don't know what your why is, but that is why we put the intense activity. That is why we do that, because it's not only going to change your life, it's going to change other people's lives too. And that is what I want to help you do. So in June, I don't know who wants to join me, but we're going to do some intense activity. And I have shared the Eric Worre video on my page, and it's like 50 minutes. So sometime this week, my challenge to you would be for you to watch that. And one more thing before we go, please, on our page, tell me who was here so I can put you in the drawing for the book and for the $25. Thank you for coming. I know that there are many things that you could be doing right now and that you chose to come and listen to me blubber. It means a lot, and I appreciate it. Bye, guys.